So just a little explanation on this session. It just, you know, like I'm gonna do. I've been working on about 7 or 8, maybe even 9 sessions. So we're gonna kind of do one a month. So we'll be doing this well into the new year.
You mean one a month on commercial?
On commercial real estate. However, I just want to qualify because some people have already got the wrong idea. It's not like I'm trying to help you understand what CCIMs understand. So you know, if you get into the world of commercial real estate, you'll discover there's a thing called CCIM. Niraj is in the program. I completed it years ago. And CCIM stands for Certified Commercial Investment Member. You know what it is in layman's terms? If you're a CCIM, this is the PhD in real estate.
Yeah.
This is the PhD in real estate.
Absolutely.
When you have I don't want you to think that that's what we're doing here. But what we're doing here is this. If you have a customer, or you all have clients, right? People that you've done business with. What if some of your clients that own their own home, you help them buy a condo, a rental condo? That's as simple as it gets. So what if you could help somebody buy an investment property, maybe buy another investment property? So basically what we're talking about through this session is how we're going to talk about how to help people develop the thinking. Would somebody do me a favor and knock that heat down? Kurt, would you knock that heat down? Thanks. So how do we help people? I mean, who in the room has helped somebody buy their first home? So Billy, did you not have to help them through a lot of mental blocks?
Absolutely.
Right? Like the people that bought their very first home, I mean, they didn't know this, they didn't know this, right, Sue? The mortgage brokers in the room had to help them understand, okay, no, we can make this happen. I remember myself, after I first moved to the Lower Mainland, I had a house up north that was all paid for, and I was commuting back and forth, and there was a mortgage broker in our office, and I said, she goes, Ray, when are you gonna buy a house down here? And I said, well, you know what you banks are like, you know. I said, you're so hard on people. I said, you probably want me to sell my home, and you know, before I could buy another home. And she goes, no. She says, give me let me fill out all your paperwork. She says, I'll get you a line of credit. I said, really? I was actually a little surprised myself. I mean, here I've been selling. I'd already sold. I probably by that time when I moved here, I'd already sold over 12 or 1,400 homes. Lots. And helped lots of people. So it wasn't like I was a novice, but I was still a little surprised that really you're gonna give me I said, because I'm not putting any money into it. So I bought a home for about $300,000 back in 2001. The bank gave me the whole thing. I went, wow. So if I could go wow, and I have a little bit of you know, like a moment there, right? Can you imagine the person who you've already told me you got some people you helped buy their first home. How about the people, they're now in their first home, they haven't got a clue how to get the second home, how to get the third home. Now, the moment you have a buyer that wants to buy that, let's say you have somebody who wants to buy a condo, and you finally get them through to that point where they're going to do it, are you going to have any trouble? Say no. Let me help you with that. You shouldn't have any trouble. You sold lots of condos. The mortgage broker, Sue's not going to have trouble getting the mortgage from. It's not going to be a problem. It's just a mental hurdle. I'm going to buy this, because there's going to be a few different rules, right? There's going to be a few different things. So part of what we're going to talk about in these sessions is how do you get people to make the change in their mind? We're not going to have any trouble doing it. What if you get somebody to go, you know what? Forget the condo. Forget the condo. That's like, can I buy a 4-plex? Can I buy a 6-plex? How about you get them to make the mental leap so they go beyond the condo, a 4-plex, a 6-plex. They buy a 12-unit apartment building. Matter of fact, you can make the leap now. We're doing. If you can do it, like I was talking to somebody recently, and I was just trying to help them grasp this concept. It was very difficult for this person. I forget who it was. Just this week. I said, does anybody follow me on Twitter? Do you know what I'm doing on Twitter? If you follow me on Twitter, do you have any idea what I'm doing?
No.
Do you follow me on Twitter?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Who follows me on Twitter? Do you know what I'm doing?
You mean with your posts?
Yeah.
There's some kind of thing that's crawling Google for certain words or something.
No, I don't.
The new generation, yeah.
If you're following me on Twitter, let me see McLean follows me on Twitter. I mean, Kurt, you follow me on Twitter, right? With those little quotes and stuff.
Oh.
There's a method to my madness, you know. I'm putting those things out there to try and get people to think more highly of themselves than they currently do. I'm trying to escalate their thinking. The problem with people and their finances is not that they don't have money, it's that they have stinking thinking. So part of what we're doing today is like, it's kind of like an introduction to how do I get people to think of commercial real estate. See, for me it's like, I've been selling commercial real estate from the day I started. So I sold homes, but I always sold people investment properties. And I remember one day walking into my office, and one of the gals in my office, this is years in the business already, half a dozen years, and this gal says to me, she says, Ray, she says, how come you're always selling duplexes and fourplexes and not just houses? And I said, I said, why do you want to know that? She goes, well, I'd like to learn how to do that. I said, Kathy, I can help you. You can ask Kathy this story. I walked into her office, I can help you. I said, the first problem you have, I can help you with. She said, what's that? I said, you can't sell a duplex or a fourplex to anybody because you don't own one. Anybody ever sold vacuums?
Huh?
Besides me? Ken? Did you own the vacuum you sold?
No, I didn't.
Okay, has anybody had those high pressure vacuum cleaner salespeople come to your home?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the first question you ask them is, do they own the vacuum?
Yeah.
If they don't own the vacuum, just show them the door. Say, see you later. You don't own the vacuum, you're trying to sell it to me, see you later. See you later. The moment you own commercial real estate, you own revenue property. So who in the room would like to sell revenue property? I see one or two hands. How many revenue properties do you own?
I have.
No, own. Because when you own revenue property, you know how to solve all the problems. And it's these problems that stop all the people you know from buying the property. And don't think you can bullshit people. Like, get out of that mindset. You cannot bullshit people. You have to have respect for people. Don't think you can tell people to do stuff that you're not prepared to do yourself. Does that make sense, Bob? So you got to get through this thinking. You got to get involved in the process. Okay. So let's just jump in a little bit. Okay. Basically, if you're gonna own, look, here's what we're talking about. We're talking about having a strategy, not only for ourselves, but for our clients. And in this strategy, why would you want to be in this real estate business? This is a tough business. It's not for wusses. A lot of wusses get in the business because they think it's about getting a license, but this is not a business for wusses. If you're a wuss, you should leave. Or become a mortgage. But we all warmed up now?
Try to get commercial finance on the old.
I mean, if
you'll be glad you're a realtor.
If Sewell wasn't here, I wouldn't be able to make these shots, but he can give me shots back. So, if we want to be wealthy and we want our clients to be wealthy, you got to have a strategy. So a strategy is a long-term plan. And so sometimes what I'm going to do in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to start the long-term plan. But I just want to say to you, you got to have a plan, some kind of plan. So number one, I know most of you in the room don't own revenue property currently. So now you got to work it into your plan. You have to have it in your plan. If you're going to sell it, you got to own it. Let's stop BS. Get it in your plan. Write it down. Figure out how the plan is going to look. That's just part of a long-term plan. Now, once you have a plan, okay, let's think of it like this way. If you're a general, the word strategy and tactics are kind of military words. They're used a lot in military circles. So if you're a general, you're trying to you know, you're gonna take that, you know, like when the troops landed on Normandy on D-Day in 1945. 44? 1944.
45.
So they landed there. They had a strategy. The strategy was we're gonna land troops here. We're gonna take France. We're gonna go through all those countries, and we're gonna get to Germany. We're gonna kick Hitler's butt. And we're gonna take Berlin, and we're gonna take all these major cities that the Germans had. That's our strategy. What is our tactic? Our tactic is what we're gonna do day by day to make this happen. And if we're faithful to do the tactics every day, every week, we will accomplish our strategy. That's really what strategy and tactic is. So, let's, here's a simple little tactic. Strategy, a simple little strategy. I said 6, but it could be 2. I'm gonna help 2 people buy some revenue property. Like here's the deal. There's probably who in the room has been in the business for 5 years? So, Billy, how many people have you helped buy revenue property? I'm picking on you.
6.
In 6 years. And did it just happen, or did you plan it? Oh, you planned it. Nice. See, so if you just make a plan and say, you know what, this is part of my business for the next year. If you just make a plan, part of my business next year is to help you come up with a number. I'm just saying 6. 6 is believable. But if you've done nothing, try 2. I'm gonna help some people buy 2. Now, somebody asked me the other day from the office, one of the team leaders from one of the teams, because they said, Ray, are you gonna try and get everybody sidetracked selling commercial real estate and get them off doing the residential? I said, no. I said, you keep on doing all the stuff you're doing, but I'm just looking for a little track, a little sliver in your head that you would think, number 1, I should own revenue property, and number 2, I should sell some revenue property. And if you do this, you're gonna help yourself and help a lot of people. So if that's a strategy, I'm gonna help 6 people know, 6 people I know buy an investment property, and this is for them would be achieving a complicated goal. If you know, because if they haven't got it and they don't have it done this yet, you're gonna help them somehow. So, what would I do to make this happen? I would tell everybody I know what I'm planning on doing. That's my tactic. Because I gotta find people, right? I gotta find people that I can do this with. So maybe I'm gonna have a mail campaign. Maybe I'm gonna make several calls. Maybe I'm gonna set up some meetings. Maybe I'm even gonna do a few seminars. Notice I spelled that wrong. And that's these tactics are just in the context. They're just in the context of my overall plan. So now, does that make any sense?
Seminaries or mini seminars?
That was late at night when I was doing this.
No, but it's fine. Seminaries or mini seminars.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it works.
Does it work?
Yeah.
It was late. I was tired. That was after we had that open house thing in Fort Lang, and I went home and and I got a new laptop. Look at that. And Rebecca's got me working on a Mac, and I've never done this before, so.
Just got added into our
You'll be
dictionary,
happy
so
you
don't
made
worry.
it.
Okay, so now we get to our first seminar, we get to our first coffee meeting. We sent out some stuff. We get to our first coffee meeting.
Not 1 hour yet.
Sorry?
You said 1 hour.
Sorry. Not our coffee meeting.
Will you please stop confusing people now?
I focus, right?
Because everybody wants to know, how do you do this? Right? How do we do this? So today, right off the bat, I'm going to show you how to have a meeting. I'm going to show you how to draw a napkin. So you meet with people and you do this napkin presentation 100 times, 1,000 times. So you can do it off the top of your head. Now, part of this presentation that you're going to do, the first time you go to a meeting with somebody and you pull this HP calculator out, you pull that calculator out, you punch the 5 keys across the top of that calculator until you can do it unconsciously in your sleep. Remember all the people who told you once you get into real estate you won't need the calculator? Those are the people who don't sell a lot of real estate. Those are wusses that don't sell a lot of real estate. Even the guys in post licensing. You take this calculator to every coffee meeting you go to, you take it out, you punch the 5 keys, I'm gonna show you how to punch. You will gain respect. You know what most people realtors don't have in the business? They don't have any, nobody respects you. Because you're unprofessional. Because you say things that aren't, you can't back up. I intend to help you change that. So, nobody's gonna wanna have a rental property for the sake of having a rental property. Just for the sake, and just for that headache. They're not gonna wanna have a rental property just for the sake. Why would they wanna have a rental property?
Revenue.
Somebody said investment, they wanna have an investment, why is that?
Return on their investment.
Thank you, somebody said something in the back that, retirement.
Passive income.
Ooh, I like,
Actually-
somebody said passive income.
It's the best hedge against inflation.
It's a hedge against inflation. I'm gonna, somebody said for education purposes. What else?
Leverage.
Leverage,
Legacy.
Tax.
Oh.
legacy. Somebody said tax.
I have an issue, yeah, well, it can be, yes, it can be.
As a way of deferring taxes, is that what you meant by tax? Like,
Well, no,
correct.
you can write off a hell of a lot.
It's a tax deferral process, yeah. What else?
Diversification.
It's a way of, as far as investments and creating wealth, it's a way of diversifying.
D-I-B-E-R.
S-I-F-Y.
Yes, that's right.
What else? We got lots, don't we?
Positive cash flow every month.
Hopefully.
Cash flow.
We've got
Yeah.
income, haven't we?
So I'm gonna tell you, it's these things right here, and a few that we've missed, that will actually hit a trigger in somebody's head. These are what we call emotional drivers. If you never get people emotionally involved in the process, what have you got? You could have you could know how to crunch the calculator. Crunching the calculator and getting the numbers ain't gonna do it. You know, sending them off to see a mortgage broker isn't gonna do it. Those mortgage brokers, they're dry. Those guys are dry, aren't they? I mean, they're dry, they got paperwork. I mean, you work with those guys, you need hand lotion. You gotta have hand lotion. I mean, those guys that give you paper, your hands are dry, right?
Hey, just be easy on them, huh? Some of my best clients are mortgage brokers. They have access to the capital.
Right, one more reason.
What's that?
Invest immigration. Some rich people
Oh, just to
in
get
foreign
attention.
country, they buy and then become a investor. They got the
So the
immigration.
people invest
Yeah.
To immigrate.
to immigrate.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Didn't Canada put the brakes on that a little bit?
No.
No,
No.
rather they are
No,
very
but
aggressive on
if you elect enough socialists, they will.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, if you get enough
Very
socialists running the
aggressive.
country, they'll do that.
Yeah, that's
sure.
what.
I mean, these things are possible. I mean, we can make anything happen here.
There's a huge market.
Yeah, there's a huge. All these things are emotional drivers. Okay, so now, you ready for napkin number 1? This is what I call a napkin presentation. So, if people are going to accomplish all these things, like passive, like let's take some of the ones, like leave a legacy, 1. Somebody said passive, cash flow, passive income, retirement income, all these things that people want. Let's put a number on it.
Yeah, very
So
important.
somebody help me out. Give me a case study here. So you all talk to lots of people. Tell me what a person in Canada is happy making every year. If they make this amount of money, about this amount of money every year for the rest of your life, what's that number?
50,000. That's plenty.
Somebody said 50.
Mine's 33, but I know somebody brings in 18,000 a month.
That's $5,000 a month, and if I'm debt free, I'm happy with 5.
Is this assuming you're debt free and retirement funds?
You see, I just asked a question and then we rolled all this, but let's just take all these pieces. So somebody said, it's all good. Somebody said if I had $5,000 a month, $60,000 a year, and I didn't have any major debts,
There you go. Yes.
house was paid for.
Yeah.
And the reason, you see, Greg raised this point of, right, all these things come out at the same time. See, one of the fallacies we have in Canada, it's been around for years. Some of the people like Billy will tell me, or this is a fallacy that Canadians have had. Ken will tell me this, he's been around for a while. The fallacy has been, it's like a half-truth. It's a half-truth. It's not like it's wrong. But the fallacy was, if I have my home paid for, Ken, do you remember 20, 30 years ago, you'd hear guys say, when I get to age 60, 65, get my home paid for, I'll be set. Right, Bob? Ken, you've all heard that? You've probably heard it from the guys you work with. I remember hearing my guys at work saying, if I get my home paid for by the time I'm 60 years old, I'll be set. Is that true? Or just half true?
Half true.
Half true.
It's half true. Why is it half true?
Because
It's half true because if I'm living in the home and I don't have passive income, what am I gonna do? Take the cabinets, take the doors off the house one at a time, go down to Walmart and try and trade it for money? I mean, for food? Or, so you see what I'm saying? So having the house paid for is not a bad idea, but it's only a half truth. And so when we talk to people about these things, we gotta help them with this. So, the $60,000 that people have, if they can have it and their debt's all covered, is that their financial independence number?
Nope.
What's the problem?
Inflation.
See, the problem is that when you're talking to these people today, how old are these people you're talking to?
60.
Today. You're talking to these people today that would like to have this $60,000. What are most of your customers? Well, give me a nitty. Yeah. So there's they could be somewhere between 30 to 40 years old. And you're asking them you're gonna help them create a portfolio for themselves in the future. Are we with this? So in the future, it's gonna be at least 20 years, 20 to 25 years. And somebody said the magic word. The magic word is inflation. And what's inflation?
rising costs of goods.
So-called 3%.
Give or take, yeah.
So does anybody know? Do you know how to use the calculator? So if we were to use the calculator, if you took any notes today, if you get this down pat, and if you do this 100 times, 3 to 4 times a week, with people that you know, you're gonna make a fortune. So if you wanna take a note, the $60,000 is present value. It's on the calculator, it's PV on the calculator. The 3% is the second key. It's the I over Y. It's the interest rate. It's on your calculator. Who knows what the 20 is?
And
Yes.
20 is N. And what we need to figure out is what is the money they need in 20 years? What is the cash flow, the passive income, the legacy, what is that number?
108,000.
Did you do it?
Future value.
So in 20 years, yeah, this is future value. This is future value. What did you come up with?
108,367.
360.
Well, 100. We'll call it 108,000 in 20 years, right?
So that's telling you that 60 grand today is worth 108 in 20 years time.
Well, what it's telling you is this: is that inflation will erode the buying power of your $60,000. So you take $5,000 a month to the grocery store, to put money away for your vacation, to the movie night, all the things you do. We're not talking debt at this point.
The expenses were 60,000, today would be 108,000 in 20 years.
To buy the same bread and the same groceries and go to the same movies and drive the same car and put the same gas in it, all those things you do, 20 years from now, based on 3% inflation, you have to have 108,000. Okay, now, everybody okay? Now, if you can bang this out day in, day out, and you got this under control, now you need to know how to use the same calculator to back engineer this. This is step 2. Are we okay to this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so step 2 is to go, okay, I need to turn that 100, okay, in order to solve that, let me just back up in case somebody missed the step. The one thing on the calculator we missed was payment.
0.
So the payment was 0, and there's all the other numbers. That's how we got 108,000. I didn't check, but I'm sure it's right. And sometimes you're gonna have variables, because some people you're working with, you have more time, less time. So the 20 might change to 25, or it might change to 15, whatever, right? So now what you need to do is back engineer the 108,000. So the 108,000 is the payment. So now we've projected ourselves. We're 20 years into the future. We have the 108,000 coming to us as a payment. We have to assume that during this time, what kind of return could we get in our investments? We're assuming this now. We have to think, you think anybody would try if we said we could get 6% over 20 some years?
No, 6%, that's
Yeah, 5-6% for sure.
Okay, so we've got 5 or 6%. Let's assume we're starting with 0, but we might not be. But let's just assume that, right? So present value is 0. What are we missing now?
And P,
No, actually,
future value.
no, I made a mistake.
Yeah, that.
We're gonna solve for that.
So what your investment today?
No, hang on a second. We're missing N. We're
Future
missing
value.
and we're missing future value.
And IYR. Periods per year.
No, we've got the interest rate. We know the payment that we want to have. We're in the future. We have the payment that's going to be going from that point on. Okay. So how long will these people need the cash for? Let's deal with time for it. So we're 20 years into the future. We've accomplished the goal. We have created the 108,000. Okay, that's the money we figured they need. We've created it. We've got it coming. The next question is, how long will they need the money? So if he's a 40-year-old guy, he's now 60. How long will they need the cash?
25 years.
25 years.
I like the longer the better. You know, the longer the better. I mean, there's a gal in Fort St. John who's one of my real estate buddies. She's still selling real estate. She's 88 years old.
That'd be N, eh?
That would be N.
Very good energy.
Sorry. 35 years old. So we're gonna go for 35 years. Now, 35 years doing this. I like to, I'm gonna help you with this. I don't like to run the money out to nothing. Does that make sense? So I like us to leave some money here. So how about if we leave like $250,000? So if we mess up, we still have 2 years of because we go 35 years. There's also inflation, right? So we're not allowing for that. Like there's only so much we can allow for, right? But we're at least getting a plan. So now what we need to solve for is what present value, present being 20 years from now, we have accumulated a sum of wealth. that produces 108,000. Everybody follow me?
So that's how much money we've saved.
What we're trying to do is we have created assets. We've created a whole bunch of assets that produce 108,000. We've done that between now and 20 years from now.
So what's the worth
Which
today?
was the $5,000 a month, which, you know, that's the
That-
value of it now.
yeah, the first thing we did was we said, you know what, if I had $5,000 a month 20 years from now, and we explained to the guy that $5,000 a month 20 years from now is not gonna cut it. It's gonna have to be 108,000, it's gonna be like close to whatever that number is, right?
Right.
So we invested somewhere that'll give us that money.
So we help these people with their investments to get them to a pot of money in the future. This is what we're trying to solve for here. Anybody solved it yet?
1.7 and
1.6 million.
Some people are saying 1.6, 1.7 million?
1.692.
1.7 million? 1 million.
Depends on if you're a beginner and.
Close enough, close enough. Matter of fact, let's just round it up to 2 million. Let's just round it up to 2 million.
That's a $400,000 difference. That's a big.
That's just a house. Small house.
Alright.
I would say let's just round it up to 2 million, you know, like this is a target. I would rather, if I was helping my clients, have them in a position where they have more money than less. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
For yourself, would you want to be short of money yourself? No. So if you're not going to be wanting to be short of money, why would you want them to be short of money? So help everybody get enough money. You get enough money. They get enough money. Now I'm gonna tell you this. Let me ask you a question. If you pounded this out 3 to 4 times a week, if anybody in the coffee shop saw you doing this, what would they think?
Cuckoo.
I need an appointment.
I think you're different, probably.
How many of these napkins do you think get pounded out in the coffee shops all over the Lower Mainland?
Not me. Not enough.
Do you think there's any going on?
No.
Probably very.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
It's next to nothing. It's next to nothing. Matter of fact, I'll take you to meet all kinds of commercial realtors, all kinds of financial planners. They couldn't pound it up. They couldn't pound it up.
Rely on software.
You know what it is? Most people are just trying to make sales. They're just trying to earn commissions. They're just trying to do deals. They're not trying to help people. If you want to take the time to learn this, it's because you want to help people. It's a whole different mentality. And if you help enough people, the guy who coined that phrase just died this week.
Yeah.
If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want.
Yeah.
They buried Zig last Saturday. And actually you can see the whole service. I got an email, it's all, they got it online. But anyway, now, if you can back engineer it and come up with this number right here, you've actually just probably gained a client. If you want to build trust in a half hour, 20 minutes in a coffee shop with somebody, you pound this out. Day in, day out, day in, day out. They've never had anybody help them like this. Now, they have a goal. The problem in Canada is not that we can't save money. We're not dumb. We've got a lot of wealthy people in Canada, so we're not a dumb country. We have a lot of opportunity, right?
Right.
It's possible to do all this. The problem is that nobody knows this number. They don't know what the number is.
Fin.
FIN number. They don't know what it is, they don't know how to get to it, they don't know anybody that can explain it to them in case they forget. So basically today, we got quite a few more things, but I just wanted to tell you, if you go away with this, you got any questions about this?
No.
If you go away with this, you are like you are head and shoulders. Mark, you are head and shoulders above the rest of the practitioners.
Okay.
Anybody who's licensed, by the way, should have those 6 things pounded into their subconscious.
That's true.
Like even if I put my calculator away for 2 months and I go back and do it, it's automatic.
Should be.
Should be.
Now, the way to make it unconscious, like Mark's saying, is book 2 to 3 appointments a week. to explain this to people. There is no way, I'm gonna tell you, there's no way you sit down in a coffee shop, ask people these questions, ask these questions like I did, to come up with these answers. Just get them to imagine. And the moment they come up with these emotional drivers, like passive income, retirement income, these are emotional drivers. You get them to come up with that, they'll listen to you, and they'll begin to get this. If you just jump into this, it's too technical.
You're right.
You'll lose them. But the moment you engage their emotion and you find out, really, you'd like to have passive income? Well, how much income would you like to have? So you get that emotion, right, connection. You've got to have that. You make that emotional connection. Now you can say, let me show you how to do that. Then you show them how to do that. You give them a little napkin. Then you do this. And you come up with the goal. Say, I know what it is. 1.7 to 2 million. Well, how am I going to get there? Well, let's make a plan. So now the plan is, now you're going to find out what their net worth is.
Ray, can you tell me what FV 250 was again, please?
Future value.
Yes, I understand, but how did he come up with 250?
I just made it up.
Whatever money's
Like
left
some
over.
of the
I made it up. It worked. The calculator works better.
Yeah, of course.
The calculator works better if you end up with a future value with some money left over. It can be any number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what I did was I multiplied that by the factor of 12 and came up with 1,000,003.
You multiply what by 12?
So 108.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now this is a good point. Greg's raised a good point. If you just want to short circuit this, if you just want to keep this short and simple, you can just use a multiplier once you know this number. And McLean, you know the multiplier is based on age? McLean will tell you there are multipliers that insurance companies and investment companies have for every age group. Am I right, McLean?
Yeah.
Thank you. And so
55 is 12.
the older the person, the younger the person, the smaller the multiplier. Or is it?
Right, right.
That's right. Yeah.
Makes sense,
No,
Yeah.
The higher.
The
Younger
younger the person, the higher the multiplier. Because but there's a multiplier, and so Greg's actually got a good point. You could quickly in your head go, it's got to be, you know the answer you're going to come up with.
So what's the range of those multipliers?
Well,
Range from where?
the range of the multiplier is going to go like, what are you trying to accomplish and for how long? Would it be like 108,000 right off the top of my head with a guy that's this age? I knew before we did the number that it was going to be close to 2 million. I knew the number before I got there. I knew it had to be close to 2 million. To produce $108,000 going forward, it has to be a reasonable rate of return as well. So it can't be some high, unrealistic rate of return. It's got to be a realistic rate of return that we're going to accomplish during that time. But you can do the calculator and come up with the exact number. The problem with the exact number on the calculator, there is a problem. The problem is that for the next 35 years that we're thinking of taking care of this person, there's inflation. We can't cover everything, like the calculator only do so much, but we're actually covering a lot. Make sense? Does that look like we're covering a lot? Mm-hmm. We're covering a lot of ground. Like we are actually coming up with a number that when you realize the majority of the population does not know this number. I know wealthy people who will go to their grave working their buns off because they don't know this number. I got a client of mine. He's worth mega millions, but he came from a poor background, and he's driven to make sure he doesn't fall into traps. He doesn't know the number. Yeah.
So I want to make sure I understand this. So 20 years from now, it's 108, right?
Right.
You need to make
You
every year.
need to have that's the cash that needs to come to your house.
Right, every year.
Every year.
20 years from now, and that's another 35 years out.
We want that 108 to continue for 35
For
years.
another 35
Exactly.
years. So the present value 20 years from now would be 1.7.
That's why, and that's why I said I'd rather have it at 2.
So then you have to backtrack it to. Do you not have to backtrack it to, or bring it to today's present value? Because you've got.
You see, I like the way your brain's going.
Maybe I'm slow.
No. We haven't got to this yet. You see, so the question now. There's a
We need to
question
achieve
that
that
arises.
money.
What do I need to put away every month? See, eventually we get, you know, okay, so how do I get to 1.7 million? So now, if I wanna know, okay, 20 years from now, see, the mortgage brokers at least have the calculator out and they know how to use it. Give them credit for that. See, the realtor should know this. You should not, like I'm gonna tell you, if you got a real estate license and Sue in the front row beats you to this number, you should be slapped. Have a mortgage broker beat you, hey Karen?
Not right.
It's just not right. It's just wrong that a mortgage broker would beat you to the punch on this. But, okay, good question. Are we ready to move on to this next calculation?
Yes.
Okay, so what, our goal, here's our goal. We have to end up with a pot of money that's at least 1.7 million.
I said 2 million.
You rounded up.
You know.
Okay, I'll change.
What's 300 grand between?
I'll take it.
I'll take that.
I did use a word, and the word was at least 1.7 million.
Right.
At least. I use that word very strategically. I mean, my mother didn't send me to London to learn the Queen's English for no reason. I mean, you know, 1.7 at least. And that number would be, who knows on the calculator? It's going to be FV on your calculator, on this new calculation. So, let's assume, do you know people that have nothing to start with?
Oh, yeah.
So let's assume they have nothing. You know, the moment they have something, that it makes it easier. We jump to this, let me just back up for a second. I said if you did this and if you did this, the next thing that's gonna happen is you are going to be able to discuss with people something that we call net worth. How many people do you know, they have a net worth statement and they change it twice a year, minimum? You know anybody that does that? Just a few people. Just a few people in the room know somebody. The reason we have a country full of poor people is because nobody's got a net worth statement. So if you want to be wealthy, one of the takeaways from today is go home and build yourself a net worth statement for yourself. You're not going to help anybody if you don't help yourself. Net worth statement. So net worth statement is list all of your assets. I don't mean your clothes. I don't mean your shoes. Like hard assets. Real estate, investment funds, stocks, hard assets. Subtract all the debt that you have, and hopefully you have a positive number. But it doesn't matter. We're just taking an assessment. So this will lead you to help people and help yourself develop your net worth statement, so that we can do this calculation. Pretty hard to do this calculation if we haven't done that. Because to do this calculation, we need present value. So we're just assuming, because we're going to meet so many people that don't have enough, right? We're going to meet way more people that don't have enough than we're going to meet people that have enough. So present value is 0. So how many years from now till 20 years? So we're going to go out 20 years and try and make 1.7 million. What can we assume that we can get for interest for the next 20 years? 6. People would believe they can get 6. In 20 years, the reason you're going to get 6, let me help you understand the reason you're going to get 6, is because in most real estate investments, even if you get into the investment at 4 or 5, if you take care of the investment and you improve the investment, you should be able to get 7 or 8 sometime in the future. So, you know, like you're going to have good days and bad days, but you could average out 6% without too much trouble. So what are we missing? We have the future value. We have, we're starting with nothing.
Payment.
We're missing the payment.
That's the X. But you need to break it down to the amount, you have to times 20 by 12.
if you set your calculator to 1, so if you set your calculator to annual payments, you could at least go there. So your calculator should be set to 1 payment a year. Everybody know how to do that?
PYR.
I bet you just not everybody knows how to do that.
The
Payments
orange,
per
the
year.
orange button changes.
This orange button shifts it. So you go shift 1 payment up here on the calculator, that'll change to 1 payment a
The
year.
other way around.
One shift.
One shift payment.
1 shift payment. 1 shift payment. So if you do that, what are we gonna come up with for an annual payment?
43.
Sorry?
46.
46.
43 grand. 44.
46,000 a year.
46.
And divide that by 12. What's that divided by 12? 3,000 and 3,038. 3,380. Is that what you said?
38.
3,800.
Yeah.
3,800 bucks. You want that coming out on the 1st or the 15th?
Okay, so
How do you get to 26?
Some people are wondering how we got 46.
No, my number's a little bit different.
But it's close.
Yeah.
It just depends on how you have your calculator set from the first. But you
Some people have the future value as 2 million, some as 1.7.
yeah, and some people have the calculator set to begin mode or end mode, and it'll make a few little differences. But that's pretty close. It's pretty close to between $3,500 and $4,000 is what you need to be putting into an investment somewhere to arrive at that number, using this rate of return in this time frame. Yes.
Most of the time, what are those investments, right? This is a conglomerate of real estate and stocks and everything, or
Well, okay.
insurance?
Net income.
I mean, it's a number of things. It could be a number of things, right? But we started off, here we are. I'll tell you by this time you have everybody's attention. You have everybody's attention because they don't have an investment property, they don't have an investment plan, they've got nothing. So now we're starting, and we're just trying to put the pieces in place, okay? But at least we have an idea what we need to accomplish. You're not gonna accomplish this in one fall swoop, but you are gonna get people thinking strategically. Okay, yes?
So, 3,800 bucks a month has to go into savings. Where 3,800 a month goes into my savings.
Yeah?
I noticed that most of the people in the room are realtors, so 3,800 bucks is one deal. We sell an extra house. What about the person that's making 60 grand a year? They're making 5 grand a month right now. Maybe that's 60 grand net. They're making 5 a month now. They're not putting what, 80% of their income into savings.
So where's this money gonna come from? Cameron's question is, where is the money gonna come from?
You should have played passive income.
No, you don't.
60 grand is not
Does
the income.
everybody else have that question?
60,000 is not the income.
Well, we gotta get the first, it's a very fair question. Where is the money gonna come from? So the first thing is now, if you have people asking those questions, you've actually done your job. Like if you have them asking these kinds of questions, boy, you have really done your job. Now you're gonna take them bring them to a meeting like this. Bring them to a meeting like this where we can actually now begin to, and then, or I'll tell you what, I'll come and say, if you get them to that point, I'll come have coffee with you. I'll come and help you. I'll come have a coffee meeting with you and I'll help you. I enjoy it. It's a freebie. It's not gonna cost you. You get them to this point, I'll come and have a meeting with them. Because if they're thinking and asking these questions, now I can find out how serious they are about finding that $3,800. But up until now, we had no goal, right? Now at least we got a goal. We got a $3,800. Now it's gonna be case by case. So I sit down with them and I find out, okay, how much income do you currently have? How much debt do you currently have? Most people have the wrong kind of debt. Most people have the wrong kind of debt. But everybody's got debt. Am I right? Everybody's got debt. Most people have the wrong kind of debt. I'll help them with their debt, guaranteed.
Absolutely.
I'll help them with their debt. They got the wrong kind, I'll help fix it for them. Because most people are paying the banks more money than they should be paying. Paying the banks the wrong, they're paying semi-annually compounded interest. They're paying high interest on cars and credit cards and all this kind of stuff. We will help them. We will help them fix their debt. Most people don't get the tax breaks they should get. So they have, because there is no tax advice for poor people. Okay, like most Canadians are poor. So there's no financial planners out there trying to get their business and help. But you should at least be able to learn some basic things to help these folks. So they get some tax help, so they aren't throwing money away to the tax man. You know, they're recovering it. And if we get them some help there, it's not going to solve the whole problem. It could be now that they have to. You see, what the problem is with most people is they're trading time for money. That's the problem. They're trading time for money. And what we're trying to get them to transition into is we're trying to get them to transition into starting a little bit of money of theirs, wherever it comes from, working for them. That's what the investment, to accomplish this, you're not going to do it trading time for money. So now you have to stretch your thinking, first of all. And now you've got to figure, even if we take the smallest amount of money and we buy the smallest possible investment, now we have the investment working and growing while I still work. So we're going to start we're going to be behind the 8 ball when we start, with anybody. But then we get the next property going. See, now, like, if you start, imagine doing this for 10 people, and you got these 10 clients, and then these 10 clients will lead you to 10 more. That's how you build a portfolio of business. Just helping your clients grow their financial portfolio. And some people will be, there's a whole bunch of people that will be interested, some people won't be interested at all. Some people will think, you know, it takes people a while to get their head around the whole thing. Make sense? Time for a coffee break now. Are we ready? We're good to go?
That's true.
Well, actually, you know, if we quit now, was that a good section?
Don't quit now.
You can't.
I'm going to tell you that if we quit now, you already have enough information to be really deadly. And if we quit now, I wouldn't feel bad because I know that you wouldn't get this in very many places. Fair statement?
Fair statement.
Fair.
And here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen, for some people have seen this before. Who's seen this before? Okay, maybe not even quite half the room. So the other half of the room's never seen it before. It takes quite a bit of time to master this, perfect it. You don't get it the first time. You've got to use it. So it takes a few times just seeing somebody pound it out. And here's my offer. I got 2 offers. One offer is I would actually come to the you find the people, I'll come to the coffee shop and pound it out for them. You find anybody, here's what you need to do. Ask these questions and ask anybody, do you want to figure out a way how to get this passive income? You want to know that your retirement's in place before you retire. You want to know that you've got it all. You ask all these questions and they go, yeah, and you say, I know a guy, I'll sit down in the coffee shop with you and I'll help pound it out for you.
Just
and
in
then,
case if Ray's not available, I'll come second.
See, and then there's other people.
You'll have a lineup.
We'll pound it out for them, and then we'll show them these things, and then we'll come up with a number that they need. And it'll vary a little. The number will vary a little, and then we'll do the calculation. And actually, Sue and I were just kind of playing with the calculator. I was looking at that number, and I was thinking it's probably closer to about $3,600.
It is 36.
Yeah, it's $3,600. I think the calculator needs to be in begin mode when you figure that. So it's about $3,600. And now we have, okay, this is what we need to find $3,600 in your budget. What if we only find 1,000? What if we only find 500? Do we get started with that?
Sure you can.
we get started. We get started with whatever we can get started with. What if we find what if we start talking to enough people? You are going to find some people that have people in their family that'll help them get started. They may not have it in the budget, but they may have it in equity. So we just have to get all the facts. If we get all the facts on the table, now we can come up with different solutions. Because I'll tell you why we would want a solution. Why would they want a solution?
Wanna get it going.
The only reason is you have touched an emotional chord in the beginning. You fail to get the reason why they want to do this out on the table, you don't have anything. That is why when you are emotionally touched by something, like would anybody in the room say, this touches me emotionally? Anybody? Okay.
Well, it brings home,
Yeah, okay, so if it touches you emotionally, the thing that you gotta realize is this: the time to act is when the emotion is strong. You don't act when emotion is weak. We're not wired that way. So you're like a little maniac. When emotion is strong, you ever seen somebody that's come from some conference or some meeting and they're fired up and they're not even making sense and they're just telling you a mile an hour? What that is the emotion is strong, and that's why they gotta share and don't stop them. You know, don't discourage them. Never discourage anybody, even if no matter what meeting they came from or what seminar they came from or what church they came from. Don't discourage them. The emotion is strong and they want to act, and that's what you should do. Always come back to that. You say, folks, you know what? I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. It's not a perfect world, and the people you meet aren't perfect. So you may now discover, okay, we don't have $3,600. We only got $1,000. We only got $500. Well, what could we do with that? How, so that's why I say it could be as little as we're going to get them into a condo. It could be as big as we're going to get them into a duplex or a fourplex I've helped people on their first investment property. On their first investment property, it was bigger than you would imagine. I've had people for the first time, first property, a fourplex. We stretched everything, we got it to work, we found enough money for the down payment, you know what I'm saying? We found enough to make it work, so. Okay, we got an announcement
Oh.
before we jump in.
Okay, thank you. As some of you know, I'm a staging designer, so I help realtors stage homes for sale. And I now have 2 homes that are completely staged with my own inventory and my own art. And so I'm inviting everybody from Remax Little Oak, if they're interested, to do a tour of those 2 homes. One's in Langley, not far from Home Depot, and the other one is in Morgan Creek area. So my proposition is to do it maybe next Friday after this meeting is over, and we would do a little tour and then come back here and I would provide lunch. So if you're interested in that, just give me your business card and then I can send you the details, or I don't know if we can put it on the meetup site at all, or.
Yeah, you can put it as an offering on the meetup site. You're a member of the group.
Okay.
You can put it as an offering. There's an offering section on the meetup group.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, so think about that, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Ellie
Ellie.
Hansen.
Thank you.
So let's just let me just go through a couple of things. When we meet with people, this session that we're doing here today is kind of like, how do I get the ball rolling? How do I meet people? What do I discuss with them? What information? These kinds of meetings with a client is kind of like an information gathering meeting, and you also give them a bunch of information that they've never ever seen, like we just did. You've intrigued them. You get this. You have this meeting. If you've never seen anybody do it, you get the people and come ask me to come to coffee. Matter of fact, fill the room and I'll do the seminar for them. I'll do it for you. There's no cost. If I can help you get your business going, it'll be just like that's a win for us. So most people have no future plan. They don't have a plan in place. So you get a chance to talk to people about their future, what like their plan. What do you guys have in your plan? Most people don't have anything in their plan. And if they got a little bit in their plan, they don't have enough in their plan. So basically that's all we're doing, is we're getting people to think strategically. Like where are you gonna end up? We're helping them become the general of their life. Instead of most people in Canada, life is gonna happen to them. We're trying to find a few people that wanna design their life. So you have to have strategic thinking. Okay. If you have the meeting, your homework will be, okay, you have the meeting, now at least you have some idea. So part of your idea will, you know, maybe we're gonna buy something, maybe we're gonna sell something, maybe we're gonna lease something. So we have a plan. We get all these things, you know, all these things that could be considered. See, one of the things that stops people is that they just lack so much information. They go, well, Ray, if I bought that, I mean, I don't know how many times I've helped people where I've sold people a lot of light industrial buildings, lots. I can do light industrial buildings in my sleep. And so here's the deal. I'm gonna sell you this bay, Bob, and it's a truck bay, and we have truckers that will use the bay, and they're gonna pay you rent. And Bob goes, well, Ray, what if there's no truckers? Well, what if so how's this gonna work? I said, well, we're you know, the bay might not come with a trucker. It might be an empty bay. And I said, Bob, let's look around town. Let's find out if there's a need. It could be that there's a need, and it's just that somebody hasn't managed this properly. They haven't done it right. And it's likely if I'm selling Bob this bay, he's not gonna pay very much for this bay. Because the value of that bay is in direct proportion to the income coming out of it. So if there was already a tenant in the bay, I can establish the value in a second. So could lots of other realtors. If there's already a tenant, there's cash flow coming out of the bay. The value of that bay is in direct proportion to the income, the net income. So now we help people understand these scenarios. So there's so many things, right? But it's basic stuff. We help people understand that there is a relationship between money coming from the property and the price of the property. But I'm gonna stop right here and tell you that if you get that through to people, you are head and shoulders above most practitioners. Because in the field, in the market today, if you pulled up on the multiple listing service, or you talk to some commercial guys that have a property for sale, you'll ask yourself, like, are these guys nuts? What makes you think you're gonna get this amount of money with only this amount of income? So one of the first concepts to grasp here, if we are truly gonna help people get to a number, then we have to help them buy properties or get into investments where there is a correlation that makes sense between what they pay and what comes out of the property. And that is called the rate of return.
Is that the cap rate?
Well, it can be, we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. If we just simply analyze the income to the price and we get a rate, that is the cap rate. But there's so many ways that because the way we're gonna help these folks is we're gonna not help them on one deal. If you really are gonna get good at this and make money in the real estate business, you have to build a client base where you help people with many deals. And some of the deals you help them with are not ideal. It's, you know, we're not in a perfect world. Every once in a while we do get a real ideal deal. And then we have to be sometimes we have to be creative. I mean, I gotta tell you that one of the first pieces of property I bought, I negotiated the deal. I got a bank to give me a mortgage for 75%. And I didn't have the 25%. I had a partner, so him and we were 50-50. And he looks at me and goes, "Do you got any money, Ray?" I said, "No." I said, "Do you have any money?" He goes, "No." He said, "Well, that's not a problem." He says, "We just need 25%. Right? That's not the end of the world, right?
Of course not.
You know, it was only a $100,000 building. This was 1987. It was only a $100,000 building. And so we got a bank that's going to give us 75. We just have to come up with 25.
That's the vendor.
There's so many people you can ask for the money, right? So, the first place we went to one of the banks. We went in there, met the manager, and said, look, we're thinking about buying a building, but here's a picture, here's the building, commercial building. We need some money to fix it up. Can you lend us a little bit of money to fix it up? How much do you guys want? $25,000. I mean, we can always come up with closing costs, right?
Yeah.
We just need $25,000 to help fix the building up. He says, well, you guys want a signature loan? I said, yeah. A signature loan meaning no collateral, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy signs, I sign, we got a signature loan, we're gonna pay it back in 5 years. Principal and interest, 5 years. He gives us a check, we go close the deal.
Just don't use the same bank.
That's right. No, we gotta, you see, there's some basic things you gotta have figured out. No, I'm not saying is that gonna work every time?
You didn't get that from me.
That's common sense. That should be common sense. We had a credit union in Vancouver that was gonna give us the first, and we went to the Scotiabank in Fort St. John, and they gave us the fix-up money.
But really, common sense is a pretty rare thing nowadays.
I hear you. I hear you. There's got to be a certain amount of, okay. So, but these are the kinds of discussions you're having with people, right? So basically, what you're doing after you see, if you do this napkin that we did on the board, now you have people's attention, and now you can gather facts, like find out what they want to do, and every time you're finding out what people want to do, repeat it back to them. Because this is complicated, right? This is more complicated than them living in a house. So we're just going to repeat it back to them. Articulate it well, speak well, help them to understand what we're going to, what they're trying to do. Because they've never done this before, and you're their guide. Okay? It's like it's like they've died and they've gone into a different world. You're like the spirit guide. You're going to guide them through all the obstacles so they don't fall into the pit. Make sense? Now, if you ask this question, see, some of these questions you ask, you will be a hero to these people for the rest of their life. Because nobody's ever asked it. And plus, you make them feel good. So find out what are your clients' business development and investment objectives. This is the guy that makes, that's hoping to make 60 grand a year. So what are your objectives, your investment objectives? What will they say? So what was it? Ray, what's the basic thing they could say?
To live for another year.
How much money do you want?
You know what, Ray, if I can get anywhere close to what we scratch out on the board, I'm good. Like a guy that's making 60 grand a year, got zero net worth, and you say you're gonna help him acquire $2 million. He goes, Ray, you know what, if we fail and I get $1 million, I'm happy. If we fail miserably and end up with $1 million, I'm happy. And you see, anything we do to help these people, anything, is like so far ahead of where they're going to be without our help. So you cannot fail. You cannot fail. No matter how big it is, and you don't hit the goal, you think 20 years from now the guy's going to go, Ray, I'm really mad. If you'd have left me alone, I'd have had nothing still. But I'm really mad because I only have $1 million instead of 2. I mean, you're going to be at every party, right? Getting the hugs. Because you got him to be a millionaire. Okay. Okay, when I say you got to figure out what direction or what recommendations you can make for these people, this is where you have to you cannot expect people to have faith beyond their own capabilities and their own vision. So you got to keep everything you're doing believable. That's why I started off saying, you know what, we're just going to sell condos. We're just going to do basic stuff. And after they get, I've got a guy, he's a client of mine. I've never done any business with him until about maybe 4 years ago. And we were drawing these napkins out, and he goes, Ray, I've never had a rental property. So, I mean, here's a typical Canadian guy. At the time I talked to him, he was about 60, and now he can see retirement. He's left it way too long. But within the next 2 months, I sold him his first 2 investment properties he's ever owned in his whole life. I've got less than 10 years to get him to someplace, but guess what? This guy loves me. Because I'm not gonna get him to where he should be. But I'm gonna have him so far down the road compared to where he would have been without me, it's like unbelievable. Make sense, guys? So help people get the direction they're gonna go, right? Okay, now, you know really what a commercial, if you're really gonna do real estate, not just make commissions, you are gonna solve people's problems for them. And the biggest problem they have is what?
Here.
They don't have enough money. Let's just get it on the table. Most people don't have enough money. So you gotta collect all the information, evaluate the situation, solve the problems for them. So basically, you know, here's the deal. When you meet with these people and you have this meeting, you book the next meeting. And you book the next meeting. So people wonder, what do I do all day long? Or people, you know, what do I do in real estate? You find people, you expose the need that they have. Find people, expose the need, expose the problem, and now you're like a doctor. There's no magic drug. You can't just boom, solve the problem. Let's have the next meeting. Let's have the next meeting. Maybe after a couple or 3 meetings, we have at least a little bit of a tactic that we're going to use to. We might be on a search now. After about 2 meetings, we might be on a search to find them to find their first property. You know, we go over all the information. We make a recommendation based on their goals and objectives. Let me hear you say this. This is a great line, and if you learn to say this, it's very powerful. So I say it, you repeat it. Folks, what I recommend. That's it. You know, what I'd recommend is you're never selling. See, you want to get away from this thing of, you know, I really think you guys should do this. Come on. Give it a break. Make recommendations. I've heard realtors on the phone. I walk by, you know, I hear you guys talk. I really think you guys should do this. Billy, you've heard it, right? I really think you guys should do this. I really think you should go ahead and remove conditions. I really think I really think you should just jump in. Make recommendations. Amateurs say things like that, and you don't want to be an amateur, you want to be a pro. Make recommendations based on the client's goals and objectives. So now, if you have exposed the direction you're going, then you've got your work cut out for you. Don't do something else, and every client's different, so then you build a file on these folks. So every time you meet with them, you come back with your file and you kind of review things. In this file, you've got their net worth, you've got your napkins, everything you did on the board, you've got it in their file. You learn to build a first file, but by the time you get to the 20th or 30th or 40th file, you have got a business that's just popping. Because everybody's going to have a slightly different course. And I'm just saying, let's keep it basic. I'm going to tell you about, and I repeat again, all we're trying to do here this year is if you find 6 people and help them buy some investment property, I don't care what it is. It could be as simple as a condo. It's not the sale of the condo that matters. What matters is how you help their brains get to the point where they made the decision. It's not the sale of the condo. It's not the sale of the duplex or the fourplex. Can you guide people through the thinking that's needed to get there and help them establish a plan for their life? Because if you do, you are going to be back next year. You're going to have them so excited, it may be the year after. Everybody's going to be different, depending on how they can create income, right? But for yourself, for some of you guys in the room, if you'll kick the thinking up in your own head, some of you should buy an investment property every year.
If you have the money.
Oh, I love that. I love that statement.
You don't need money.
Well, I
How
hate
big
to
was
say,
the money?
I've been in that business for a long time, for many years.
Let's say, I like this, this is great.
And, let me tell you, you can't get always the money that you want in order to stretch to get that income property, even though, and then if interest rates drop, which is what happened to me in the 80s, you're scrambling.
Let's say this
So
again.
you have to have some, I think you have to have, this is my bitter experience is, you have to have something, some kind of backup behind you, just, for any of the inevitables that may occur. But I couldn't go out and buy, now that this is in Toronto, I just didn't have the money, one for now.
So I really can help.
Susan may need a counseling session with somebody so that you can help her, you know, I mean, there's always help,
Yeah.
basically that's what she's saying.
You can
You
help.
might not, it might look, here's what she's saying, let me repeat what Susan said. Sometimes it looks like it's impossible. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cold hard reality sometimes is gonna look like it's impossible. Okay, now, that's how you wanna help your clients, you just wanna tell them what Susan said, you know, sometimes folks, it's gonna look impossible. They might actually say what she said. Were you gonna say something?
Well, I was gonna say the other side of it. Sometimes if us as realtors are finding the good deals, if it's a good enough deal, the money will you'll find a way. I found a piece of property I needed to. I got a 400% increase in rent on December 1st on my boat business. And I went out and I talked to a realtor and said, here's these different properties, here's the offers I wanna put in. He says, those are stupid offers. He says, there's 3 offers. You only present once, you don't give them a second chance, and you tell him if you don't get to me by 9 o'clock at night, the deal's dead, and you present the next one. The very first offer, they asked $695, I put the offer in for $250. I got it for $285. I went to my bank, I says, I need the money. He says, you put no subjects in this deal. I says, either you give me the money or somebody else will. He gave me a demand loan for $285. I got a mortgage for $300,000 within 2 months. So I paid $285, I got $300, and I ended up selling it for a tidy $500,000 profit.
Oh.
Now I could have just said, you know, it's never gonna happen, but the deal was so good. I was forced into the deal. Fortunately, I needed a place. I was gonna pay rent anyhow, so it made sense to me, and that was one of my better deals. And it happened fast.
We should have recorded that.
Here's the thing. Rebecca will record it afterwards.
Because I turned around and I walked out of that bank's office. He said, get back in here. He said, I'll give you a demand loan. Because he knew that deal was so good that he had, I'm taking a chance on that. But to me, it was no chance. I was out of business if I didn't find a place, so I was getting a little gutsy. The deal to me looked so good, and sure enough, it was.
Okay, I just like to comment. What Bob described to us is not a deal. You see, this is where people fall down. What Bob has just described to us is superior thinking. The deal is a byproduct.
Opportunity.
That opportunity was available to many people. But Bob used a different level of thinking to make it happen for himself. When I got the $25,000 to close the deal, it was just I thought differently. Actually, my partner helped me a lot. My business partner in that deal, he helped me a lot. Today, him and I still own that building. I own more of it than he does, and one day I'll buy him out. We used to own the building 50-50. Now I own 60, he owns 40. You know, things happen over the years. I bought some of him out, and I'll eventually buy them all out. But you know, I still have the building. I don't plan to ever sell it. I bought it for $100,000. It's worth $950.
Wow.
I paid it off 3 times. I paid it off 3 times. Every time I pay it off, I take money out and I go do something else with it. You see, and there should be in your portfolio of acquiring property. As you acquire property, there should be certain ones you never get rid of, because there's a cost of disposition. And when you analyze the real cost of disposition, and when you analyze the taxes you have to give the government for your hard work and for your superior thinking, there should be some buildings and some property you never ever get rid of. Cause it'll be too hard for your children and grandkids to acquire that property. But you could make it happen for them. Remember what was one of the words up there? Remember?
Legacy.
Legacy. Legacy is one of the words. And so when you get on this program, there's so many things you can do. Okay, you know, Rebecca's gonna change the wording on these slides just so you guys know. You don't have to do this full time, but you should do it part time. So the guys that are commercial realtors, they should do this full time. But if you guys just did this part time, it's gonna be unbelievable for your business. And I'm here to help you. I'll help you do it. This is all, some of the stuff we're gonna talk about is pretty simple stuff. I'm not saying you should take the CCIM course. I mean, when you take if you ever took CCIM 101, it's so high level that some of the guys that take it and teach it, one of the guys that teaches it says his 4 years of university, what's this guy's name from Winnipeg?
Sandy?
No, not Sandy, the other guy. The guy that teaches, he's from Winnipeg, he's Bruce Harvey. Bruce Harvey teaches CCIM 101. He's probably one of the most notable CCIM instructors, but he says 101 at CCIM is so high level, it's harder work than 4 years of university. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. The stuff we're talking about is pretty simple. So, are you looking to find people? Get to know business owners. You see, business owners are already, they're already in that direction. Self-employed, you know, people that own businesses. You should know lenders, because lenders might actually put you, that's why we have mortgage brokers that kind of hang up with us here, you know. I know we tease them a little bit. Who teases them? I can't mention teasing those guys. But business managers, owners, people that have businesses and property already, you should meet these people. One of the things you can do for them is you should become really good at analyzing leases. It's not hard. You should become good at analyzing leases because you can really help a business owner move from one place to the next or renegotiate his own lease. Maybe he doesn't need to move, but I'll tell you what, if you had the room full of business owners, you get the arena and fill them all full of business owners, ask any of them to get up and explain their lease, ask any of them to say, I read my lease, I know exactly, the room will go dead. These guys all sign leases and they haven't got a clue. Roy and I went to see a guy the other day, remember? When we went to see a business owner, because the guy's thing was selling, first question I asked him, where's your lease? He doesn't even have it. Handy, you know, he's got it, it's buried someplace. He wants to sell the business, well, we can't help him unless we know what's going on with that lease. So number one, this is a learning curve for some of you guys. For most of you, this is going to be a learning curve. For most of you, this is a learning curve. But you've got to learn how to analyze leases. Okay? So, as we dig into the program, I'll show you. It's not that big of a deal, but you got to learn how to analyze leases, because if you get good at analyzing leases, you will help a lot of people, because they don't know. They don't know. They don't want to know. They're never going to know. So it's a huge opportunity.
You're right.
They don't know, they don't want to know, and they're never going to know. So you start to get good at analyzing leases and knowing how leases work. First of all, here's what I'm going to tell you we're going to do. We're just going to do a little piece every month for the next 9 months. But one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to speak the language.
You can actually make money helping out people get a better lease too.
Absolutely. You're going to get paid for all this stuff. I just came back from Montreal, and one of the key things about when you're in Montreal is not that you just speak French, but you speak French the way the French Canadians speak French. So it's not just French, but you got to speak French the way the French Canadians speak French. And they'll know within the first 2 sentences. So usually I tell the waitress, I don't speak that good French, and she goes, wow, she says, you speak awesome. What she's referring to is the accent and the way I say the words. The few words I know how to speak well, I know how to speak them really well, the way French Canadians say it. In the real estate business, you have to learn how to speak the language. So you have to understand things like how, and you can't be you can't be brain dead on these things, so we'll do that.
So in terms of, the lease education, you'll be doing that as
Oh
well?
yeah, we're gonna, as we go through, I'm just saying, this is some of the stuff, this is the things that we're gonna talk, this is like the intro section. So, we also, one of the things we're gonna learn how to do, okay, I'm giving you the heads up, is what I'm doing here today. Today I'm giving you the heads up. If I was to stop now, would anybody come back? See, a few people are gonna come back, cause if you don't know how to do this stuff, and you'd like to learn how to do a little bit, this is not your whole life. Keep on doing what you're doing, but you should sell. Remember, the goal was to help maybe 3 or 4 people, maybe half a dozen people buy an investment property. Now, to make that happen, you need to learn a little bit, right? Just a little bit, just stretch yourself a little. Notice the room isn't, like, we're not crowded into the parking lot. So the majority of realtors, like, we got 200 people in our meetup group, they're not all here. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. Learning how to calculate the break-even ratio for a commercial property. Now, I'm gonna tell you this, why I say this is a big deal. The majority of commercial realtors that list a property, when I phone them and talk to them, or when other guys phone them and talk to them, they haven't figured this out when they listed the property. They'll start telling me, you can always tell when they don't know. Let me give you the clue. Let me give you the clue. When they've got a commercial property for sale that has tenants in it, and when all they're talking about is the price of the property and how much it's worth. Okay, I know they haven't analyzed the break-even ratio. Another way of saying the break-even ratio is this. Every property or every building has to make a certain amount of rent to cover the expenses. What gives that building or that strip mall or that apartment building or the condo you're selling, the rental condo, what gives it its value is the money above the break even that people buy. This is a clue here. In commercial real estate and investment real estate, people are not buying buildings. They're buying the cash flow, they're buying the income. So what happens is you have to know some basic stuff, how to analyze the break even and the difference, the cash flow, if there is. People do not buy negative cash flow, typically.
Yeah.
Typically. I mean, everything I say there's an exception, right? There's always an exception. But typically, people do not buy negative cash flow. They buy positive. Typically, you are not going to buy, nobody in the room is going to buy negative cash flow for yourself. Let's just make that clear. Right? Let's just make that clear. For the rest of us in the room, none of us are buying negative cash flow. We're always only going to buy positive cash flow. The question is, how much will we pay for that positive cash flow? So we have to be good, and we have to make sure they're getting that. Yeah.
So I just want to be clear. I want to be clear. The break-even ratio rate is the gross margin it's the revenue it'd be the dollar value, so the break-even ratio is $1,000 divided by the gross margin of the business.
The break-even ratio is knowing the total expenses of the building.
Operational expenses.
Everybody wants to snow us on these things.
Including mortgage costs or excluding?
Well, I'm saying you gotta know what is it, what are the expenses, how much expenses does it take to make this building survive? The issue of mortgage is a separate issue. It's a separate issue. We never mix that in. It's a different issue. So every building, we rent this building right here. This is a strata that we're in. We rent this strata from the landlord.
Cash flow over expense.
Don't get sidetracked. So that's right. So the landlord we pay the landlord rent, and we pay extra rent. The extra rent covers the expenses, the strata expenses and the taxes and stuff. But the rent we pay the landlord, that rent has to cover a certain amount of expenses, whatever those are, and their mortgage. Two different issues.
Yeah.
Two different issues. So basically, calculate the break-even ratio for a commercial property. Now, the simplest way to do this is to have a form. So it's not a big deal. We'll have a form. We get the land. We go through the. It's like this. I'll tell you how to beat most commercial practitioners at a listing presentation right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, most commercial practitioners go there thinking they're going to get the listing signed. That's all they're after. If you go there, what you're doing is you're going on a fact-finding mission. And if you know all the facts you're supposed to find, 9 times out of 10 the seller doesn't have them already. But you will stand out as the pro because you are asking all the right questions. I've been behind realtors, 3, 4 of them, and they were all there to sign the listing. I go on my first appointment, I stumped the seller on so many points that basically ran out of time. I said, when do you want to meet? When can I come back? When can you get me these things and when can I come back? And the moment I book that second appointment, I've got the listing. I go to the second appointment, I've been to appointments 5, 6 times. I'm not in any hurry. When I sign the listing, it doesn't make me money. It only makes me money if I sell it. So why do I want to start if I'm not going to finish? The other guys that came, they're lottery players. The majority of realtors are lottery players. Let's sign as many listings as we can, throw it up there on the board, and hope to hell something sells. Hope to heck something happens. Right, Mark?
Is that why the ICX has nothing on there?
Well, it's got some stuff on there. It's okay. That's one of the things we're gonna do. Okay, if you get good at analyzing leases, you're gonna be doing it for both buyers and sellers. You're gonna be doing it for people who have a lease, and you're gonna be doing it for people who are getting into a lease. Like if nothing else happens in the next number of weeks, by the end of some of the sessions we're doing, you guys I'll give you like a little, if I had a degree to give you, I'm gonna give you a degree in certain things. You gotta go away from here knowing how to do fin numbers in your sleep. You gotta go away from here knowing how to analyze the basic things in a lease. Everybody with a real estate license should know how to do this, but they're never gonna bother doing it, and they're gonna miss a ton of money. You see, these people that you help with this basic stuff, they might be little people, and 20 years from now, they're big people.
Yeah.
I'm going to a Christmas party tomorrow. I'm flying tonight. He's one of my top clients, so I have to fly up to his Christmas party. And I don't go every year, but I decided I'm going this year because this guy has made me more commissions than anybody else. So I'm flying to Grand Prairie this afternoon. When I met this guy, and I first started dealing with him, he was barely worth $500,000. Today he's worth over $200 million.
Wow.
I wish I'd known you before.
That's 20 years ago.
I've known him for 30 years.
Never too late.
I've known him for 30 years. I've known him for 30 years, this guy. So I don't always go to his Christmas party. He's having like a Christmas party every year for his clients and his friends and stuff. And I get invited every year. I don't go every year. But he had a cancer operation about 3 weeks ago. And I'm kind of concerned about this guy. Like now he's passed on a lot of the business to his son, and I deal with his son directly. I don't even deal with him hardly on any business. But I'm going to the Christmas party. I just had it in my head, Ray, you better go there. So I'm flying tonight. What time we got? What time is it?
11:17.
Okay, somebody give me a 2-minute or a 5-minute. Okay, we're gonna move along. Okay, this is something. Remember, I was using an illustration. I said I'm gonna sell Bob a truck bay that's empty. How am I gonna do this? I have to know how to show Bob what's happening in the population and what's happening in the local marketplace. Okay? So when you realize as a practitioner, these are certain things that I should know, all I'm saying is I'm giving you a heads up because you gotta start learning these things. Now you see, you're gonna start listening for information and getting information. It's all around us, but you're gonna pay attention to some of these things so you can talk the language. So reported population growth from likely patients from medical rental complex. If you're gonna help people with a medical complex, like I'm actually working with several doctors right now. I am doing this right now. Several doctors in the area that I'm working with, we're trying to find strategic locations for them to open clinics. It all has to do with the growth of the population in those areas.
Right.
Can I ask a question
Sure,
there?
sure.
How important is it for them to have, you know, what do you call it, not walk-in people, but where you've got people walking, and so that is like more likely to bring in patients, rather than having to drive in?
Okay, here, this is an easy question this is an easy question in British Columbia. The reason it's an easy question is because we have a shortage of doctors.
Huge shortage.
Huge shortage. I recruit doctors for several clinics right now, and it's just like every time I meet a doctor, one of the reasons I'm going to Grand Prairie for this meeting is there's going to be some doctors at the party, and I'm going to be looking for them. So I'm actually going there to do a number of things, but there's going to be doctors in that party. I want to meet them, and I want to invite them to come to the Lower Mainland. Why the heck do you want to freeze your ass off?
In that case, I have a property for them.
Okay. See, so the thing is, the answer to your question is that any doctor that opens any clinic in a highly populated area, it will be initially a walk-in clinic.
Yeah. To get the new clients.
And the other thing you got to realize is that it's a thing of the past almost, where you see that we have so much 20th century thinking that's come over to the 21st century, like with the realtors and with the doctors and with everybody. The idea of a doctor having a clinic by himself is so antiquated, it's like pathetic. It's pathetic. There is no one doctor that can keep up with all this stuff. So all the clinics I'm involved in, I work with several clinics right now. We have several doctors, and we need more. Matter of fact, we want to get to the place where the clinics run 24/7, 365.
Wow.
Because do people get sick on Sundays?
Yep.
Do they get sick at night? Thank you. Then they need a place they can go. So, okay. Okay. One of the things that will happen at the end of this, throughout our session, you're going to get this pretty quickly, but you will learn how to master this thing about cap rate. So it won't ever be a mystery. As a matter of fact, you know what? I can almost finish off with that.
Okay.
Because have I given you some takeaways today?
Please.
Got some takeaways? Okay. Then I'll give you the last one, and you gotta master this. Like, this has got to be like a no-brainer. Any day, all day. You know why? Because you learn. If you went to school in Canada, who went to school outside of Canada? Oh my goodness.
Wow.
My
That's
goodness.
a lot of people.
It used to be that I was the only immigrant in the room, like I'm in Fort St. John, I was the only immigrant. Holy smokers, look at you guys. Well, I know the Canadian system, even though I didn't go to school here, from working with my kids. Canadian kids in grade 6 learn this stuff. Some of us people would have learned it earlier. This is basic math, this is grade 6 math. So, what we have is, so the rate of return is equal to the
IRV.
So when people talk about cap rate, interest rate, we can call this cap rate. When people make reference to cap rate, what they're making reference to is the relationship between the net operating income. Remember just a few minutes ago, Cameron was up asking, what do I mean by the break-even point? Without knowing what the break-even point is on a building, how are you going to know what the net income is? So we have to demystify that. And that's why I actually broke it. There's the expenses and there's the net operating income. I'm trying to break this down so it's really simple. So when we find out what the net operating income is, there's a relationship between the net operating income and the purchase price, and we refer to that as the cap rate. Now, investors many times will come to the table going, I want to achieve this rate of return. So they already have a preconceived idea in their head. Am I right, Kurt? See, Kurt works with a bunch of investors, and many of them have a preconceived locked in. This is it. We gotta get this rate of return. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
So if theirs is locked in, what is variable? The net operating income or the price?
Price.
The price is the only variable. The net operating income is what it is. If you have any commercial building, we take the expenses off from the income. Now we have the net operating income. We can't change it. This is what it is. It might change next year if the taxes go up. It might change, you know, there's all kinds of things that could change it. But we can zero in right now. Boom, there it is, the net operating income.
You can upgrade and then demand more higher rate.
So the variable is price. So if you want to know if somebody has the right price on the property, matter of fact, let me just simplify your whole inquiry into a building. You phone the other agent, you say, I notice you guys have this thing for sale, yeah? How much is the net income? They'll start speaking in a different language. And,
yeah, no clue.
They'll go off in Punjabi or Hindi or who knows what they might speak. They might be speaking in tongues. They might be speaking. Oh, who knows what they're doing? When they're done, you say you just listen. Don't say anything. When they're done, you say, folks, I just need to know the net income, the NOI. Can you send me something that shows me the net operating income? Because if you have the net operating income, if they'll reveal that, and your investors already told you, remember when we did the plan for the guy, we knew he's gotta make at least 6%. Yeah, we already knew that, and actually we're thinking, man, every time we can get him 7 or 8, we're that much further ahead, right? Because we know we're gonna have troubles. So the moment he gives us the net operating income, I just have to reverse this now like we did in grade 6. So we go NOI divided by the rate. Equals the price. It doesn't matter what he's got in MLS. Most of them haven't got a clue. So once you have this equation, you learn how to twist it every which way. You're gonna be like a hero.
But in that case, Ray, if the listing realtor doesn't know what he's doing, you need to get in front of the seller so that they can understand that their price is way off, right?
Yeah, but sometimes what they do on the listings, and they want an offer before they start revealing or giving out the financial information. So you know, it's the chicken and the egg.
These are all the little nuances of how we actually get into the ring.
The buyer not knowing what.
These are all the little nuances. But at least when we go into these scraps, you've got to know the basic stuff. You know, so in other words, you see, when you know the basic stuff, you just cut to the quick. See, when I list a property, I know exactly what I'm listing. So I know I'm listing you know, like I listed a townhouse complex in Dawson Creek in the spring. I sold it within a month or 2, and all my ads had nothing to do with the complex. It had to do with the rate of return.
Can I ask a question? In terms of the rate now, Billy brought up a point that kind of got me thinking, and that is that because it's the owner selling the property, they can sort of come up with their own rate, can't they, in a sense?
Well, no, what they come up with is their own price.
Okay, but
the calculator comes up with the rate.
Gotcha. Here in this case, though, the second part of the formula, you are determining the price based on what you would like the rate to be.
Well, when
it may be different from what they would like, or what they project.
No, let me rephrase what Greg is saying.
Okay.
What Greg is saying is a real problem. Okay, this is a real problem. The problem is that most sellers think that they can pick the price.
Yes.
The price is variable. Every listing presentation you will ever go on for a commercial property, the issue Do you have this issue in residential, when you're listing a property?
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Well, you're gonna have the same problem, it's just that you're gonna solve it a different way. We're not necessarily solving this problem by market data. We are using market data, but not necessarily market sales data, although we are using that as well. But what we're doing is we're helping the seller to understand that in the marketplace, people are buying certain rates of return for certain properties in certain locations at a certain rate of return.
It's not just an emotional purchase any longer.
Exactly. So you see, people say to me, Ray, can you get me an 8% return? Absolutely. I can get you 8% return today. I can get you into a building before the end of December with an 8% return. My question to you then would be like, do you need to drive by this building every day? My first question, do you need to drive by and take a look at it every Sunday afternoon? If you do, I'm gonna have trouble.
It's gonna be a long drive.
It's gonna be a long drive.
Here goes your Sunday.
But if you're okay with 8% return and you're not having to see it every Sunday, I can get you where I'm going to the plane tonight. I can get you 8% return.
You get 20% return.
Well, there's all kinds of different returns. You see, the further away you go, the better return might be.
Right.
So, as long as you understand cross multiplication, this is basic grade 6 math. You can take those three things and turn it around every each way. As long as you have two pieces of information, you have two pieces, you find the third, right?
Yeah.
If you're okay with that, you got those three things marked down, you start practicing it, you can start figuring things out. Somebody tells you the net income is this, and you've got an investor who tells you I would do it for 6 or 7. You divide it, and you go, wow, it's close to that guy's asking price, or this guy's totally up to lunch. Matter of fact, when I'm acting for the buyer, I just usually ask the question to the listing agent. I say, will your guy sell this at a 6% return, or a 7 or 8? He says, well, Ray, we've got the price. I said, do you want me to do the math for you? You see, when I list the property, I can make it sell so quickly, because when I go there, I cut all this out of the seller's head, and I explain this to him. The higher the price, the lower the rate of return. The higher the rate of return, the lower the price.
This might also change too, like suppose it's an older building on a site that has potential, right? You might use a different method to calculate the value of the land, right?
Well, what Paul's asking is, there's going to be exceptions to this. There's going to be exceptions to this. So let me give you a good example. I'll give you an example of an exception. I have sold buildings with 20% cap rates. I've sold buildings to people with 20% cap rate, when everybody else in the same town was selling similar buildings for 8 or 10 or 11 or 12%. I was getting 20% on some buildings. You know why? The buildings needed a lot of work. Yeah. The buildings needed a lot of work. So when the seller understands reality, we adjust the price. See, the net operating income is the fixed thing. The net operating income, this is fixed. We don't make this up. That is fixed information. So you always have to have the fixed information. That's it. This building has got a net operating income today. It's black and white. We don't need any help with this. Now we have to determine, what will somebody pay in terms of rate of return for this building. Now they will pay more and have a lower cap rate if the building needs nothing. If the building is impeccable. So the more impeccable the building is, the more people will pay, and they'll sacrifice the rate of return. But the building needs a lot of work, they're not going to pay as much, and so the rate of return will look stronger.
Well, I guess I have a hard time with that, because I mean, if you got to put money into the building, these are costs, right? So in the long run, you actually.
But it's a one-time cost.
Well, that's what I mean.
Okay.
So let's say for the first year you get your 20%, the second year, then you're probably getting your 8% or 6%.
Okay, so Greg is asking a very, this is a great question. It's a great question. The question is, why would somebody pay less, get a higher rate, but they gotta put money back into the building? Why would they do that? It's on the board right here. It's one of the emotional drivers. It's on the board, it's an emotional driver, and it will make people do this.
Hedge to inflation. No.
Well, they know that it's,
Well,
it will be fixed every year, so the passive income.
it's one of these things on the board. The answer is one of these.
It can be a tax
Thank you.
deferral.
Right there. That's exactly what it is. Okay, so if you have a high income buyer, if you have a buyer like a doctor, lawyers, very successful, they're making lots of money. You know what their problem is? They're paying too much tax. Way too much tax. And anytime you can defer the tax that they're paying into a piece of real estate, let that money grow. It's instead of saying it's Ottawa, you put it into the building. Let that thing grow and compound over 20 years.
And pay it later, right?
Well, or never pay it.
Or never.
Or never pay it. See, it's just a matter of changing your thinking. But let's just say, would you rather pay taxes now or later?
Later.
Mhm.
Would you rather pay taxes now or never?
Never. Human nature.
Yeah.
Who wants to pay taxes?
Nobody.
So you see, not paying taxes is an emotional driver. It's a reason, it's a button that you can press on people. I don't know how many people, like November and December, in my heyday of selling over 100 homes a year, I sold lots of investment properties because I knew people had a tax problem. And when I knew they had a tax problem, I said, you know what, I've got a house you should buy as a rental property. It needs a roof, it needs new windows, it needs carpets, it needs paint. And you know what? If you got some money to spend on paint, carpet, roofs, and siding and windows, I can do it all in the next 2 weeks. Just give me the money. I got no trouble. I mean, I got guys fixing the roof and changing the windows on the same day. Right? There's good tradespeople here that can get all that stuff done.
So question, actual case example I'm working on now, I've got a deal we're trying to put together and we have to demolish the building. It's better than for my client to buy it with the building there, and then he demolishes and has all those costs versus, is that better? If it was
Way better.
Yeah, okay.
Way better. If the price is the same.
Yeah, like say it's $100,000 to demolish the building,
But
he's
it-
better
but-
to pay the $100,000 with the, and then he pays for the demolition.
But is he getting is it a difference in price or the price?
Yeah, say there's 100,000 less if the current seller has,
Well, it depends on his tax situation. See, I don't know the guy's tax situation.
Because if he had a good, this one is a very wealthy fellow, so I'm sure he's got a tax problem, so he can now write off all those demolition costs.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, here's the deal. We're finished with this. This is the last thought for the day, and we'll continue. We weren't sure if we were going to continue this session next week or not, right, Rebecca?
You were gonna ask.
You want to continue this session next week?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
What do you mean, of course? I mean, you know, there's other things in real estate to talk about. Okay, we'll continue next week. I'll finish with this one thing. Most people that are trying to grow wealth in Canada do not understand that if there is not a tax strategy wrapped around whatever you're doing, you're not going to get the full bang for your buck. So everything you do to grow your wealth, whatever you're doing, you have to wrap it with a tax strategy. The reason is we're too highly taxed. That's because you guys keep electing socialists. See, there's an election coming up. When you elect a socialist, if you elect a socialist, the socialist government wants all the money they can get so they can blow it. They're unaccountable. All governments are, but socialists are worse. It's not that one's better, one's just a little bit better than the other. But they're all unaccountable. You have got to grow your portfolio with a tax strategy all the time. All the time. So that's just what you got to keep in mind. You're buying this thing, you're coming up to the end of the year, what can I, do you know, you might not know this, if you own a rental property within a calendar year, all the expenses, you can only own that property for a month. What you own in 2012 is as if the tax department doesn't care. As far as they're concerned, you own it for the whole year. It applies to the whole year. So it's very strategic to help people buy properties in December. Very strategic. Matter of fact, I'm here to tell you, the first week of December, there is no reason that you can't take some of what I'm telling you and close some deals before the end of the year, especially between Christmas and New Year's. Close them. Find some notary or some lawyer that will close the deal for you. And get to work and help some people save some tax money that they're gonna have to pay it anyway. And if you could defer some of that money into a property before the year closes, I know realtors that will tell you that they've got, and I'm one of them too, but I know some realtors who've had clients coming to British Columbia year after year. They come in December, they buy a property every year from Ontario. Year after year after year, they kept on doing that. Because the properties were generally cheaper here than they were in Toronto. And they get the tax advantage. And we're in the same country. It's not a different set of laws, it's the same country. Wrap everything you do with a tax strategy in an investment. The investment's going to work much better. Matter of fact, when we go through all these sessions, I'll give you different tools that you can take away. I think I've given you some today, right?
Oh, no, I can't.
But one of the things I'll give you is to learn. I'll give you a spreadsheet along the way that will show you how to quickly calculate the before and after tax sale of a property. Matter of fact, I've negotiated some of the highest commissions that you could negotiate based on that. You see, commissions are only an issue in the absence of value. And many times my commissions are not being paid by the seller, they're being paid by the government. In other words, if he doesn't pay me, he's just going to pay the government. So I always ask him, do you want to pay me? This is going to serve you for years and years and years. Do you want to pay the government? End the conversation. End the conversation. People don't pay me commissions. They pay me instead of paying the government. But then look, you get me, right?
Absolutely. Look at that.
Have a great week. Go meet some people.